Thank you all for joining us. At Apple, our mission is to design products and services that empower and inspire you.
Not so fast, Tim. Did you catch all that? Let me rewind a bit and show you. Throughout that entire event, there were some little secrets, some clues, and I think some little Easter eggs from Apple that kind of give us an idea on what the company is working on next. This video is a little crazy, so let me prepare. Let me put on my tinfoil hat for this one, because I'm gonna need it. And let me tell you what I think this last Apple event can tell us about the iPhone 12, iPhone 12 Pro, AirTags, AirPods Studio, and a whole lot more. All right, so I gotta start this video with the obvious disclaimer that you have to take everything I'm about to say with a grain of salt, because as a part of the Apple enthusiast community, we are sometimes well known for reading a little too much into the tea leaves on things, so to speak, and dissecting little parts of invitations and little Easter eggs and events to only be thrown off for what Apple is planning to do next. A lot of the times we are correct on things, but sometimes not so much. So as long as you know that going into it, let's dissect a little bit what we saw from the last Apple event. First things first, I think there's a lot we can learn about the upcoming iPhone 12 Pro from the Apple Watch of all products, and specifically the colors. But first, if you missed our comparison between the Apple Watch Series 6 and the Apple Watch SE, we'll leave a link to a video down below and up here for you to check out. But what I really want to focus on right now is the colors, specifically those two new colors for the Series 6, the beautiful product red and the new blue color. In my opinion, the product red Apple Watch Series 6 just looks amazing, and we've seen the product red color scheme sort of make its way to more and more Apple products over the years. iPods have gotten them historically for a while. We've seen them with the iPhone XR and the iPhone 11, but we've never seen that product red color make its way to the higher end iPhone, specifically in the Pro series. And remember, Apple did introduce that midnight green color with the iPhone 11 Pro series last year, so it's not totally out of left field for them to give sort of a splash of color to the higher end iPhone. But as much as I wish it would be that product red color, I don't think that is going to happen. I think it's gonna be blue for a couple of big reasons. The most obvious of those reasons being that for months and months and months, one of the most long-lasting, persistent rumors for the iPhone 12 Pro is that it would be coming in this new rumored deep sea blue colored option, which if you look at the renders and then look at the Series 6, those two blue colors look oddly similar, and I think that it is going to be kind of a no-brainer that the iPhone 12 Pro is coming in 4 colors: space gray, silver, gold, and some naming scheme that resembles deep sea blue. I think the Apple Watch was a hint that it's coming, and we're gonna see that color make its way to the iPhone 12 Pro. But that's not all. The Apple Watch Series 6 actually tells us even more about the upcoming Apple products that we're expecting to see next month, and that's thanks to one super brief little part of a slide they showed right at the end of the Apple Watch Series 6 presentation. Blink and you may have missed it, but if you look here, you can see that the Series 6 comes equipped with Apple's spatially aware U1 chip. And this is important for a couple of reasons. And for those unfamiliar, we got the U1 chip last year with the iPhone 11 series and the iPhone 11 Pro. And essentially what this chip is supposed to do is make the iPhone more aware of its surroundings, more spatially aware, and make it a little bit more efficient with communicating between other Apple products, specifically other iPhones, and the wide range of Apple devices. And Apple's been pretty tight-lipped on what this is supposed to do and how it's supposed to help with the iPhone, but the only thing we've been able to do recently is just kind of use it for fancier AirDrop. But there are a couple of prevailing theories on what this U1 chip is going to be used for in the new Apple Watch and how it could be a really big deal. One of the most obvious theories is that Apple is planning to use this U1 chip as a part of their new kind of car key initiative with other auto manufacturers. So basically, if you buy a car that supports this Apple Car Key API and the Apple Car Key technology, you'll be able to use your Apple Watch to unlock your car in a manner that is more efficient and easier than a key, but also a little bit more safe and secure than Bluetooth or NFC. It kind of uses this other proprietary Apple technology, which is kind of cool. Another idea is that Apple would build the U1 chips into their new Apple Silicon laptops and desktops so that you could use the U1 chip in your Apple Watch to more safely and securely and maybe a little bit more speedily unlock the Mac that also has the U1 chip as well, besides having to rely on Bluetooth, which is also very cool. But the biggest and most exciting idea that we've seen floating around for this U1 chip is that it's going to be an integral part of these brand new Apple AirTags. And I know we've been hearing about Apple AirTags for what seems like years at this point, at least for months and months and months. And Apple themselves even already sort of leaked it in a pulled support video that clearly references AirTags and the fact that they do exist. But we are finally set to see them at an event probably going to be unveiled alongside the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro sometime next month. And how this U1 chip kind of falls into play here is that by being spatially aware and being able to communicate with other Apple devices around it, it would be able to kind of work in conjunction with this community find feature. So sort of think of it kind of clearly like a Tile competitor that mimics the exact same thing that Tile does with their community find feature. Let's say you have an AirTag on your keys and you happen to leave your keys at the coffee shop and your phone is, now home and miles away from that coffee shop. Instead of you having to go back and search and try to see where it was, if someone in that coffee shop has an iPhone or an Apple Watch or maybe a new Apple Silicon Mac with a U1 chip inside, which chances are is pretty good that would exist, your Apple tracker, your Apple AirTags, would be able to use the location information from the different devices around them. So the Apple ecosystem of devices with this U1 chip would be able to all kind of work together to help find lost items. So even if you're not near your bag or your keys with AirTags on them and someone else is, you'd be able to use their location and their information to help geolocate and find your lost things. It's a very, very cool idea, and it makes a whole lot of sense since there are tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of devices all around the world that are Apple products, and even more and more, a growing number of them have this U1 chip inside. This whole idea of an Apple ecosystem community find feature would be really, really cool. We don't know 100% for sure, but if I was a betting man, I would bet that next month we are finally going to see AirTags introduced at this rumored October Apple event. And last but not least, another sliver of information we can learn from the watches about the iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro is that it looks like Apple will not be including a power adapter with those new phones in the fall after all. The reason being is because they kind of explicitly stated and went on to make a point that they're not doing it with the watch. They're looking to cut down on e-waste, and seeing as Apple ships hundreds of millions of iPhones a year, not including that power adapter in the box would do a substantial job at cutting down on potential e-waste. I understand it is not maybe a favorite decision by many people, but it seems like that is the decision Apple is going to make. Or are they? Okay, let me just play devil's advocate here for 1 second and tell you why I think maybe, just maybe, there might be a power adapter in the box after all. If you were to look back at the rumors we saw on the iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro back in kind of the early summer months, we saw this rumor that the iPhone 12 Pro was supposed to ship with this new 20-watt fast charging adapter in the box, which would be very interesting. And that rumor kind of made the rounds, but then kind of seemed to disappear as the idea kind of started to be floated around that, Apple's not going to ship the power adapter, and it seemed to make more and more sense. But if you take a close look at the Apple website, you'll notice that the brand new iPad Air and the new $329 kind of base iPad both ship with a 20-watt power adapter in the box. That's actually faster than the 18-watt that ships with the higher-end, more expensive iPad Pro, but that's a gripe for another day. I'm not sure if it's gonna happen. I'm not telling you right now it's going to be, coming true, but it's an interesting data point to realize that, hey, it's with the iPad Air, it's with the iPad. Maybe the Apple Watch is sort of a test bed to try to, maybe try out this idea of not shipping a power adapter and see kind of how it goes with customers before they commit to doing it on the iPhone. And maybe this year in one iPhone or both iPhones, we'll get a 20-watt power adapter in the box that's better, faster than the little cheesy one we've gotten for years and years now. All right, so now let's move on to one of the most exciting rumors and one of the most exciting parts of that Apple event, and that was the addition of Touch ID built into the power button. This is a big deal for many reasons. This is the first time that Apple has ever taken the Touch ID technology from the home button and put it into the power button, but it's also one of the first times that I can remember they've ever made a conscious effort to not only showcase Touch ID technology, but to show it kind of in the ecosystem of Face ID. And they've talked a lot about Face ID and how in some ways it's superior and the great technology and stuff like that. But the fact that they made a conscious effort to not only include Touch ID, but to kind of re-engineer it into the power button is really cool. And it also kind of leads us to the question, could we see this in the iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro? And as much as I'd like to say yes, I don't think that's necessarily the case, just because the production timeline and the R&D timelines inside of Apple for these new iPhones usually stretches like a year out. So even though this whole pandemic happened 6 months ago and it would be great to have Touch ID built into this new iPhone, I don't think it's going to happen because this was a decision for the iPad Air made long before all of this stuff kind of went down in the world. But I wouldn't count it out for future iPhones. We have been hearing rumors for years now that Apple was working on including Touch ID into a future iPhone that would work in conjunction with and alongside Face ID. You'd kind of have the best of both worlds. But we had heard that Apple was working on including it under the display. It would be kind of this in-display fingerprint reading technology that would be working on the new iPhones. But maybe this idea of putting it into the power button is not a bad idea after all. Because if I was to hold my iPhone 11 Pro just kind of naturally here, my thumb just perfectly rests right on the power button, which would be a great place to be able to utilize Touch ID, especially when I'm wearing a mask. So will we see it with the 12 and the 12 Pro? I don't think so. I wouldn't count on it. But could we see it with next year's 2021's iPhone, maybe the iPhone 13? I definitely wouldn't count that out. And I think that to see it in iPad Air and to see Apple making a point of it and to see them actually putting effort into re-engineering Touch ID for the power button is very encouraging that it could make its way to the iPhone sometime in the next year or two. And something else we can learn from this event is that the A14 Bionic in the iPad Air is going to be the chip inside of the iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro. And we don't have like side-by-side kind of benchmarks comparing the two, but I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, I'm very inclined to believe that at the iPhone event happening next month, we will probably see Apple spend a little bit amount of time talking about how the A14 is better, more power efficient, more powerful than the A13 Bionic, and why it is the best, most powerful processor you can have in your iPhone. All right, for this next one, tinfoil hat is coming back, because this one is a little crazy. So some super sleuths on Twitter and Reddit noticed that Apple kind of went out of their way to showcase a very special date in this iPad promo video, and that was the date of September 30th. Now, this is a very interesting date for a couple of reasons. It's just a couple of weeks away, which could mean that, hey, maybe September 30th, a Wednesday, could be the day we get the iPhone announcement. That would be super cool. It's just, in a matter of weeks from now, days really, and the iPhones could be announced very soon. It's also the date that Google is supposed to announce the new Pixel 5. So it'd be funny to see Apple go head-to-head with Google as both companies announce their new phones. Now, I don't think this is gonna happen. Apple typically probably wants a little bit more time to kind of space out these big announcements. The iPhone 12 is a big one. They don't wanna take kind of press resources and fanfare away from the iPads and the Apple Watches to devote to iPhones just yet. And it's a little close to when the last event just happened. So rumors right now are saying it's gonna happen in October, but it was very interesting. I'm not gonna count it out entirely. And I just thought it was very funny that Apple kind of made a point to really show off that date. So again, gotta share it with you guys so you know, September 30th could be the day. Could be. Something else I just couldn't help but notice is that the iPad Air is transitioning from Lightning to USB-C, similar to the transition made on the iPad Pro a few years ago. Now, of course, this begs the obvious question, could we see USB-C on the iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro? And I don't know. The prevailing thought right now is that it's going to be sticking with Lightning for now. The USB-C would be wonderful, but I do think it's encouraging to see Apple kind of continuing to make this transition for USB-C, kind of showing that, hey, USB-C is not just for pros. Average consumers have more and more USB-C cables. They like the advantages of USB-C. Again, is it going to happen on the iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro? I don't think so, but it is very encouraging to see Apple continuing to adopt USB-C across their mobile product line. All right, so that is everything we kind of learned and some information that we were able to obtain from the latest Apple event. But there is one more thing I want to talk about that wasn't in that event or called out specifically, but the rumors and leaks on this just do not stop coming in. And that is on these new rumored AirPods Studio over-the-ear headphones. And as you can see from the pictures and the leaks, they look interesting, to say the least. This is certainly not at all what I expected them to look like, but the idea behind them is super cool. So essentially, Apple wants to take the AirPods technology, maybe even some of the HomePod technology, this ultra high fidelity, machine learning, premium audio experience, and bring all the smarts and the guts and the processors and the chips into over-the-ear headphones. So the idea is there is no left or right ear cup. Whatever ear the cup happens to be on is what it's going to adapt to. It automatically knows, and it's going to have kind of the smarts of AirPods, so it knows which device it's connected to, and it can automatically switch between it. It'll have all of this new spatial audio technology built in as well, which would be super cool. And yeah, the premise behind them is super cool, though if these rumored photos are true, they look very interesting and I think a little polarizing. So we're expecting to see them announced right around or even alongside the iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro next month. They're rumored to be called the AirPods Studio. They could come in a couple of different colors and variations. We're not sure on that, but it's a very big leak, a very big rumor, and something I think you guys, obviously, you need to know. This is the Apple Circle. We want to give you all the Apple information, and that's something you definitely want to know about. And that is it. That is all of the tidbits of information, all of the rumors, all the leaks, all the little Easter eggs I think we could find from the latest Apple event and beyond. What are you guys most excited about? Are you picking up an iPhone 12 Pro or an iPhone 12? Are you looking forward to a specific feature? Do you think that September 30th is going to be the day that Apple threw in there, or was it just kind of a red herring, so to speak? Or anything else you guys happen to find interesting or that you're looking forward to at the rumored October event for Apple's next products. Leave a comment down below and let us know. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Thumbs up this video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and turn on that bell because we got lots of other very cool, useful, jam-packed videos coming your way very soon. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I'm Robert Rosenfeld, and I'll see you in the next one.